Thank you for joining us, Louisa Bell. You obviously are, you can tell us a bit about yourself in a second, but I'm just going to introduce you as working at P&O. You've got a proper serious job title that you can tell us all about. And thanks for joining us. But not only do you work at the P&O, which is going to help us across to France for me to do a swim, you also are a swimmer yourself, which is great and very much aligned to what this is all about. So you lead commercial passenger operations and you're a swimmer. Maybe give us a couple of minutes on that bizarre mix.
Yeah, so in terms of my P&O Ferries role, I am Chief Commercial Officer for the passenger business, which is our sales, our marketing, our customer experience, finding new customer groups. It includes pricing, revenue management, and also what we offer on board the ships. And a lot of people don't realize just how much we offer. It includes retail, food and beverage, which is always very important to swimmers, or certainly to me, and entertainment. And I've been at P&O Ferries for about 5.5 years, but I am also a swimmer. So it does give me opportunities to both be near the water and in the water on occasion, which is an added bonus.
Beautiful, that's lovely. And we can touch on the ships later as well. I know that you've got a couple of new boats that you want to talk about, but we can obviously include that. So this is about a journey, actually. So that you just sort of brought that up as a journey on the sea or a journey in the sea, and that's quite neatly aligned with what I'm thinking here myself. Is that I personally do see the journey as part of the experience. How do you view a journey to go somewhere to do a swim, and how important that is that to your mindset and to your thinking and to your settling your brain, the actual journey to the place?
And I think it is critical in terms of a swim, because I think swims often take you to places and destinations that you would never otherwise have gone to or come across. And, they're often in the outside tourist destinations and cities. And so it's exciting both for the event, but as a swimmer, I'm unlikely to win any of these events. So I do it really for the love of it and the experience. And if you can have a whole journey that builds into that, that's absolutely fantastic. And can also mean that you are arriving in, a good state of mind and good physical shape to be doing the swim.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I totally agree. It's the journey there is part of the whole experience, and the calmer it is. And also, I happened to be in Madeira last year swimming, and there was a boat journey from Madeira to another island. It was 4 hours, and we met everyone there who was planning on swimming over there. So you get this sort of community. I'm not saying that the P&O ferry I'm going to take is going to have that, but there are people on there that you can find who are looking for experiences, and that's all creates a wonderful story, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think seeing the water, I certainly, wherever I am, if I look at a body of water, I often get an urge to be in the water. And I think a lot of swimmers feel that as well. And just the calmness of being around and on the water is joy.
So you've crossed on a ferry, but then I understand you've actually swum the English Channel, which is you put you in a rarefied space, I think. So well done on that.
Thank you.
So brilliant job. I mean, I would never take that on. What drew you to it, and what did the experience teach you?
I think looking back on it, as a child, I had wanted to swim the channel, and I certainly remember when I found out that someone had become the youngest person to swim the channel. And I thought, that's annoying. I now can't be the youngest person to swim the channel. Obviously, I was way off in terms of my swimming ability and training, but at that age you don't realize it. So it was a dream I'd had that I'd put out of my head, and then I started doing a bit more swimming and began more swimming in a local lake. I knew of a friend's husband who'd swum a 10-kilometer swim, which seemed ridiculously long to me. But as with all of these things, you just build up gradually, and before you know it, you're doing a 10-kilometer swim and you're hanging out with people who start saying to you, have you ever done a channel relay? And you think, well, I didn't even really know that was a thing. But the more people say it to you, and the more you think, oh, people do that. So I was lucky that a colleague turned around to me, a photocopier at a previous job, and said, do you fancy putting together a relay team? He now says he was just making conversation. He didn't expect me to actually say yes and start researching. But did the relay. I thought that would scratch the itch, and it didn't quite scratch the itch. And I began to think, if I'm going to do a solo or attempt a solo, I'm not getting any younger. It's not going to get any easier. So I might as well get on with it.
So you did the solo as well?
Yes. So I did the solo in 2022, and I did the relay in 2019.
Oh, well done. That's incredible. So you've done it twice effectively, partly and fully. Wow.
Yeah.
Hats off. And I suppose in terms of, without, trying to get too deep, is that what did that give you? And what did it, I suppose two things really here. What did it give you as a person? And then there's the work in the background and your job, which is all part of our lives. What did it give you in terms of leadership? How did you think differently after these amazing things you did?
I think a lot of it, from a leadership perspective, it's given me a very strong belief that everyone is capable of more than they think they can do. And that actually, if someone has sufficient, a big enough dream, a big enough desire to do something, then actually they're probably capable of doing it if they put in the work. So it's given me a really strong belief in the power of largely the mind to do things. In that I would say I wouldn't describe myself as a particularly good swimmer. I'm a swimmer who can plod and can keep on plodding. And I think it taught me that about human beings generally. And then about myself, the power of resilience and having reason enough to finish something. If you've got that reason, and mine wasn't a massively deep reason, it was partly in my darker periods, it was, if you don't make it this time, you're going to have to go back and do a whole other year of training to try and make it, because you won't be able to let this go. But also I thought I couldn't go back and explain to my children, why didn't you make it to France, and say, well, I was cold and miserable and wasn't enjoying it by that stage, which was the truth of how I was feeling. And so that made me dig a bit deeper, with a lot of support from my crew. Whilst it's a solo channel swim, it's very much a team sport and relies on the team, as most things do, and as most things in work do as well. And the right team, you can also get an extra boost. It can make things a success.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. And it brings into my mind a few conversations I had with people who do amazing sort of things above and beyond. And it's knowing that you can, it's putting yourself in a position where you know you might hit a barrier.
Yeah.
And then it's getting through that barrier. Yeah. And I think the Japanese have a name for it called misogi, which is effectively, it means you've got to do something at least once in your life that takes you way, way, way beyond your capabilities. Yeah. And if you go into those areas, some may call them dark, or they could be light. you're going to learn something about the way you function as a human being. And I think that can only potentially give you great things that you can do later on about leadership and about personal gain and leading a great sort of life. So hats off to you for doing it. You're not going to do it a third time then?
No, not that one. I've got other big swims I would love to do, but in terms of doing the channel again, I mean, I might do a relay if that came up, but I think in terms of a solo, I might be able to do it a bit faster, but I'm not going to break any records. Or I could fail to do it, in which case I ruin my 100% success rate.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want that.
Other swims, without a doubt.
I'll send you a link then. I can cut this a little bit out because this is more chatty, but I'll send you a link to a marathon river series, which is what I work for, and they're three events they've got together. One being the one in France I'm doing, which is 33 kilometers down a river. So you're assisted by the current. Then there's one in Spain called Ultra Ebre, which is I've done before, is brilliant. You'll love it. Yeah. It's 31 kilometers down a river again. And there's one in Norway. I can only say they're fantastically run, beautiful events, not that well known, quite tidy and small, but really super. So I'll send you a link to those.
Fantastic.
You might get inspired by one of those, but I'll make sure I get that to you. We're moving towards the bits that I'm looking for. I'm going to go through another couple of points. So in terms of, like, if we were to give advice now to people traveling, people from Outdoor Swimmer magazine, which is what this is about, and there's a 70,000 audience there of people who do exactly what you and I do, is travel and do great things. Give them some advice about this journey we talked about preparation, about planning, about getting on the right transport, about all the things you might need to take and think about. Maybe have a little think about how, with your experience, what they should be thinking about taking a journey like this.
I think one of the things that I always surprise myself and have never managed to get much better at doing is, for a sport that you are largely doing wearing a swimsuit, cap and goggles, the sheer amount of kit I certainly end up packing. Yeah. And every time I think, just take the minimum, and then you start thinking, but what if I decide I'm going to wear a wetsuit for this one? What if it's really cold? What if it's really sunny and I want to wear a rash vest? And what do I wear on my feet? And what if I need a change of clothes? And what if the weather's variable? And before you know it, you have the most enormous, at least one bag you can't carry. In my case, I went and did a fabulous swim in Sweden last year, the Vidostern Summit. And despite having a huge bag I couldn't carry, I still ended up traveling and running through airports wearing a dry robe. And that's never comfortable. And so one of the joys of ferry travel is that you can actually pack as much as you need into the boot of your car. You can be much more relaxed about making sure you haven't forgotten to take something that is essential, that allows you to be comfortable, that means you're not risking carrying enormous bags and, hurting your shoulders, which can be a weak point, just as you're heading to an event. So I think it allows you also to be more mentally chilled out and concentrate on the things that really matter at the event.
Yeah, no, and that is a fair point. So I've done a fair bit of both. I've gone by ferry, I've gone by the underground train, I've gone by plane, but the plane is by far the most stressful if you're going to an event. I'd always go by a boat if I could, because I think you've just nailed it. Because my bags, I'm the same as you. You think it's a tiny piece of equipment you need, but then you pack in extra bits that and I sometimes take a bike actually as well, because I like to have my bike there so I can just poodle around a bit. So when you get all that together, it's a lot of equipment. It makes sense to travel on a boat. Brilliant. So the last thing is then, I suppose, to keep within your time as well, is so your next event then. When do you want to do your next event, and what is it?
So I've got a couple of events booked in for this year. One is the 15K dock to dock in London, which I have done before, but I've spent the winter really working on my technique. So I'm interested to see if that, as a long distance technique, you in a pool session, you don't really know whether it's improved your speed and efficiency. You need to do the long swim. So I'm doing that, and then I'm doing an Ultra 33.3 in Montenegro in October, which I'm hoping, and everyone says, is going to be just beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. So they had one in Croatia 2 weeks ago, and I got some feedbacks. I know a couple of people that went to, so it was really brilliant, well organized. They had terrible weather apparently, but they managed to resolve that by changing things around. It was super good, that, and I think I'd like to do that myself one day. Two great events coming up. It sounds to me, if I can round off in my mind, that you're doing it for pure enjoyment. You're not looking to break records. You're not looking to, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And you're looking to create that community around you of people that enjoy the same thing. And I think that's a really healthy way of looking at the sport that we both quite enjoy. So good luck with everything you plan. Thanks again. Thanks for getting me over to France on my particular adventure. And I'll send you, as I say, all the details about this series. So maybe you can join us one day.
I'm sure I will. They sound fabulous, and I hope your event goes really well. So I look forward to reading all about it too.
Absolutely, it'll be an outdoor swimmer. So so I'm going over June the 10th or 11th. I can't remember. I've got to sort out with Gemma pure dates.
Yeah,
and then it'll be written up, and I'll send you a copy, and we'll stay in touch, I'm sure, because it's a small world. So thank you.
Okay.
That's
Thanks
great.
very much.
Thanks for that. We're off there now.